this time we're going to talk about Barovia and Ravenloft. And this is a really nice implementation by the Neverwinter team. One of the better jobs they've done illustrating Dungeons and Dragons, taking something from Dungeons and Dragons and bringing it into the game. And one thing that's kind of interesting is they took their time doing so. When Curse of Strahd for 5th edition was released, which brought the Ravenloft setting into 5th edition, the Cryptic team did not do anything with Ravenloft, and they launched sort of their own piece of the game. I believe this is when they covered, they added a piece around what they called the Cloaked Ascendancy and a threat internal to Neverwinter. And so we all kind of thought, oh, I guess they're not going to do Ravenloft for Neverwinter. But they just took their time to think about how to do it. And when they launched it, it actually was pretty good. There were some aspects of it that were hard for players when it first came out, but since then that's all been smoothed over. The game has become much easier. This part of the content has become much easier, so it's easier on players to go in and complete it. Let's talk a little bit about what has happened over the editions. Ravenloft is one of old gamers' favorite adventures and many people's favorite setting, but it really began only as an adventure. I6. This adventure is considered an absolute classic for many reasons. Not only is it just cool and fun, pitting you against a vampire with a really interesting set of goals and personality and backstory. Really one of the best villains the game had had at that time appear in an adventure. So it really that was monumental. The extent to which the villain had been detailed was just completely new to the game, that kind of approach. I should say that Tracy and Laura Hickman wrote Ravenloft. They had been running it as a home game for many years, along with some other things that they've been working on. They had the same approach, and then they brought it into a D&D adventure and just knocked it out of the park. The other thing was the strong narrative style. A lot of games back then, or a lot of adventures back then, they were kind of just you run around and you stab stuff. And maybe there was a ritual to stop or a MacGuffin to rescue, but it just didn't have that narrative appeal. And this had a true story to it, even as a fairly short adventure. It had things like the Vistani, these people that that were sort of not entirely trapped in Ravenloft, Ravenloft being an area that normally traps you in its domain. And they could deal with you, and they had these kind of neat aspects to their culture. They could help you, but were not entirely just, they're not like they're good, but they would give you certain things and point you in the right way. The game began with what was called a Tarokka deck. We'll talk about that deck a little more later, but it was basically the equivalent of a deck of cards that would read your fortune, and this would shape the experience of the adventure. It's just multiple levels of revolutionary design that took place. A second adventure, I-10, was released. This was fine. It was an attempt to do a sequel. It was fine. It was not the same level of innovation as before, but the setting was popular enough, or the adventure series was popular enough that what eventually resulted was a box set named Realm of Terror that introduced Ravenloft to the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons game. This continued through 2nd edition. 3rd edition saw Ravenloft releases. Ravenloft was re-released, the original adventure, in various forms. The number of adventures and supplements that was released for the Ravenloft setting over the course of Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 1st edition and 2nd edition was incredible. Easily more than a dozen titles, but maybe way more than that. I'd have to check my blog post where I talked about this recently to really see the number. But all of that meant that there was a really strong foundation. It was actually eventually then later licensed. So during 4th edition, there was some work, or was it 3rd? One of the 2 editions, there was some work that was sort of licensed for the edition, some people like that. But we finally end up in 5th edition with Curse of Strahd appearing again. And this adventure reportedly was written by Chris Perkins when he was trying to figure out what they should really do next. And he apparently went to his house or somewhere where he was retreated to, and he kind of over a weekend wrote this all up, which is kind of incredible. Whatever extent that's a true story, it just shows you the genius that he has to be able to do that. Curse of Strahd really manages to find a great balance between the original Ravenloft, the ideas of all the expansions and the domain of dread concept with these larger things at foot, keeps it in the Ravenloft immediate Strahd setting, but adds more to it, gives you that feeling of dealing with other beings and factions, and that there's more to the story. Throughout all of this is a tale of tragic Gothic horror. It's the concept that Strahd is in love with a woman who lives in the village and is therefore willing to do a lot of things to go through and have her under his spell. But there's more to that, because she is actually not the original bride that he wanted. It's sort of something about the cursed domain that causes her to sort of come back, or her form to come back in a villager every now and then, and adventurers get the chance to best Strahd. We're not going to go too much into that part of it right now, but I do want to talk about one other thing, and that is the Tarokka deck. The Tarokka deck is a really neat concept. It's the idea that the Vistani people can read your fortune with these cards. This is something that even in the original adventure, you can take these cards, play them, and see what you get. In 5th edition, they made a deck for it, so you can actually go to your gaming store, you can buy this deck and pull it and see what you get. That is super, super awesome. One of the cards, the Artifact, is near and dear to my heart, because when Adventurers League, and that's the organized play arm of Dungeons & Dragons, which releases a series of adventures that you can then play at stores, you can play them at conventions, you can play them at home, they released one adventure for each of something like 14, 16 cards, I forget how many. I got to write the Artifact, and this adventure was a really, really fun project, very challenging for me. I based it off of the concept of the game Clue. So in this adventure, you are trying to figure out who murdered this person, a wizard, and with what did they murder it? Who did they murder the wizard with? We already know the where, so I took out that variable. And you must go around trying to find what's taking place. But the interesting wrinkle to this is that all of the people that are suspects are actually ghosts, and there's a reason why they're here. There's a tragic story to why they're here and what happened, and you can learn about that story, learn about the murder took place. And I made it variable, a little bit like the board game, in that at the beginning of the adventure, the dungeon master, he can decide who the murderer is, or can roll randomly. So every time you play it, it can be a new experience. If you are interested in this, you can go to the DM's Guild, dmsguild.com, and get it. Today, it is 100% of what you'd get it on sale. You can see the sale price there, but you also 100% of this would go to me. So this is the last day when this happens. Thank you to the DM's Guild for doing that. So let's jump into Neverwinter finally and see how this works. What is it that is taking place here? How does it work when Neverwinter takes on something like this, which is, as you can imagine, a big undertaking. So we're going to take Jalazea, who is my tiefling paladin. She's got a pretty sweet outfit there. This often is the case, not one of my stronger characters, but this is a character that has some reason to kind of explore in this area and get a few things done. So I'll talk a little bit about the lore of D&D and how it's represented, how they capture things in this adventure, or in this release. I'm going to focus on the aspects of the name that are the coolest and how they show up in ways that you might want to use in your game. So first we arrive at this gates to Barovia. Beyond this is a mist, and you can see some kind of people here that tell you about that, and that you cannot go beyond this area. Now there is an introductory sequence to this adventure series before we ever arrive to this whole zone of Barovia surrounded by the mists. We help the Vistani people. The Vistani tell us how to get back and forth between the realm of Barovia, and this explains how we can go to Avernus, or fight the Temple of Elemental Evil, or the Cult of Elemental Evil, or any of those things, and still come back to Barovia. Normally, in Ravenloft, when you enter in this domain, you are forever locked in this domain unless you can find a way out, which is exceedingly hard to do. So we find here some adventurers that are lost. It's kind of an allusion to the lion, or not the lion, which to what do you call it? We're not in Kansas anymore. That movie. So yeah, it's a little bit like that. There are a series of adventures that appear in here that are sort of Easter eggs from other adventures as well, which is kind of fun. So we're going to go around, and there are a couple of things that they did that are really interesting and fun here. One is that if you look over here on the right top side of my screen, there's a sort of surface or area map here that you can look at, but it's got this cycle here, and you can see we're in daylight. That's what this yellow thing is, and the arrow is where we are, and it's about to become nighttime. And the game actually changes during nighttime a little bit. There are certain quests you cannot complete during the daytime. So here we are, twilight's coming, the mists turn into night, the castle of Strahd that is perilously perched upon that rocky area shows up. There are other things, like if you see this I hunger message over on the left, well, that turns out to be a very interesting creature, which is there is a night terror. And when that shows up, it's somewhere around nearby, and if it fights you, it's really quite rough to fight it back. And it was basically instant death when this first released. So we're going to come here to this village of Barovia that lives under the shadow of Strahd's keep up there. And here we're going to meet different individuals. This is the Burgomaster's area. We can talk to Arena Coriana. She tells us about what happened to her daughter. Arena is the person that Strahd wants. Initially we talked to someone else. Esmeralda Davenir is here. These are all in the 5th edition adventure. She offers various quests. And we can learn about things like various forms of currency, because this is, after all, a game. But there are a number of neat kind of quests and people we talk to when we're in here. We can go into the tavern, which is kind of neat. And I do have one active quest here, which we could do, which is kind of fun. So the taverns, I like this tavern. Like, just as a DM, you know, take in how they capture the tavern. It's pretty neat. I like the setup of here. It does look sort of spooky and Ravenlofty. The bartender, you can sell them various things that you find on your travels or some special drops. Well, let's do one of the storyline quests here, which is around werewolves, I believe.
You are looking for me? Are you here to help? Very well.
So we're going to go to Instance and do this story about werewolves, which I thought is kind of a fun story. So Soldar is kind of a hunter character,
there you are.
And Zoldar tells us, let's find this werewolf that's been causing all these attacks on the town that you heard about. Sends us into the Howling Hills. Gee, I wonder if that's where the werewolves are. While they go check another area. Apparently, Zoldar does not know the area well because, come on, Howling Hills. But, alright, so we'll do that. So we're going to mount our stag here and come over this way. And oh look, a body. Let's search for tracks or for indications. And ooh, there's a blood trail leading over the river. But look, wolves are following us. I'm sure that'll be just fine. So we cross the river that has been overflowing here, and wolves all over the place. That's not creepy at all. There's mists everywhere, really nicely implemented. Normally this area would be crawling with all kinds of critters that would attack us, but because of the fact that this is a special instance, then there are only things that are related to the story. So look, werewolves attacking. Let's protect these innocent villagers. The werewolves have different types of attacks. They'll do like a counts thing. Also, things will start as a wolf, and then they'll become people. Let's see if any of these might just be wolves. Take them out. Feel too much, worry too much about them. But it's fun because sometimes things look like a wolf and then they turn into werewolf. So let's talk to
Oh,
Emil.
thank goodness. We are
Oh,
very
they're so
grateful
happy
for
we
your
helped.
assistance, friend. I was afraid of that.
Yeah, you've got more
My
families
name
to
is
rescue.
Lead
Let's
the
do
Way.
it. Cool.
Prepare us limb from
We are
limb.
heroes.
We
So
are
we
no
head
match
off
for
here
this
to
savage power.
do our heroic work.
Please, continue up the trail to the right. You will find their den
There
in
are
a
things we don't
clearing not
necessarily
far
have to
from
fight to get
here.
bogged
We
down in
will
it.
follow behind when things are safer.
And then there are things we do have to fight. So we're going to go over here to Werewolf Elite. Oop, toss me to the ground and pounce on me and all that kind of fun stuff. You can also do some fun werewolf stuff where they arch their back and become super powerful. Yeah, I just did. And they shove you around. They're very rude. They're not nice people. More of these guys. Alright, so I think we'll now have taken out the last of these folks here. And then we got this sweet, look at this. Here's your Dungeon Master inspiration. Pull back here so you can take a look at the nice setting here in the mist. But check out that place. Snarling wolf. I don't know why Zoldar didn't think this is the place to search. You know, why don't you go to the giant wolf-shaped cavern entrance? That might be the place that you gotta go to. Maybe, just maybe. Alright, let's go into the wolf den. Well, fireplace where you can spawn and whatnot. If you die, I'll try not to. Alright. Oh, so that's kind of fun. So if you see this, one of the drops is one of the Tarokka cards. So in this game, you can find these cards. You also get an artifact, the Tarokka deck, and you can charge it up with them. It's not the strongest item in the game, so typically we don't super use it, you know, as players, but it's just super fun as a concept that they have all the Tarokka cards, and they have different rarities, of course. And so when you're playing the game, initially doing the campaign, it's fun to collect these different cards, and it sort of matters, and they have all the true names from the game. You know, again, Cryptic does a really good job in Neverwinter of capturing the story of D&D. There's some bad guys there, we can just slip by and get to our boss fight here. Dun dun dun! No, trapped villagers! Looks mean, yeah. Cool environment as a Dungeon Master, funding the steal, all the storyline is great. You can just pop this right into your game. Free adventure from the Neverwinter folks. And you drop a big attack here. Oops, the werewolves do this thing where they like really tear into you. They do multiple attacks and you see them warming up and move away. Really badly. Summon wolves. Stand in the safe zone here behind him. Summon smaller bats against him. That's very Ravenloft. Yeah, this was a fight that, when it first came out, it was really hard to solo. We were all, and everyone in the guild was trying to get someone else to help them through these things. I'm going to free these prisoners. Feeling like a champ. Amateur hero. So that's great, and oh wait, there's treasure to loot. Gotta loot that. One of the fun things is, let's look at the campaign a bit here for a second. We'll go here to Ravenloft. So you can see you start and you can get various boons, which are ways to advance your character, but you kind of go through a story aspect and you recover the Sun Sword, symbol of Ravenloft, and the Tome of Strahd. These are all classic items that are part of the Ravenloft story. And as you unlock these and get different pieces, then you can do different things with them. And each one comes with a quest, so I'm going to search through the loot, and ta-da, I found the Sun Sword hilt. So this is, I had unlocked this step in the campaign, so I just did the quest that's associated with unlocking this spot. Pretty cool. So we are going to zoom through this. Get back there. just a coincidence. Yeah, how's it go? How's it? I can't even speak. How's it going? Thanks for coming to the stream. Um, so the werewolf plot is one of several plots that is going on in this implementation of Ravenloft. There's also a hag plot. It's pretty sweet. But first we need to have our big reveal. I think, is this the big reveal? It might be right here. Let's see.
Emil!
Yeah.
My love, you are safe. Is it done? Is Kirill dead?
He is dead, my love.
Then nothing stands in our way any longer. The pack will be ours to control. Bring back those prisoners.
Uh-oh. What? They were werewolves all along. We were tricked, and now they're the only pack. And now we have to stop them. Yeah, they cheated. But again, this is a really fun, actually, you know, as much as it's a little bit corny, it's a fun kind of concept to throw on your party. You know, hey, save these people from the werewolves. Oh, they're actually werewolves too, and they are the pack that's trying to gain control of the dominant pack, and then you show up, then you help them actually, and you're doing their bidding, and then yeah, you got to take them down because you just made them stronger. Classic. A lot of fun. But we're going to teach him a lesson or two. The guy that we're working with has sent everybody off to get the prisoners we just finished rescuing, so that won't stand. So here we go to give them trauma. So you can see they werewolf up. It's always cool when they hulk up. You can take out some of the wolves that will change shape. If you take them out quickly enough, then they will not shape change into a werewolf. So when I have good enough characters, I can pull it off, but not with this game. But I did think my paladin was suited for this kind of storyline. It's always fun to have a paladin Barovia. Out of divinity, that's not great. Neverwinter uses the 4th edition concept in general for characters, where you have encounters and dailies and powers like that. But it also will, it also uses a number of other mechanics. So for example, in this one I have what's called divinity, and my paladin will run out of that as a sort of power source, and then I can't use my encounter powers anymore. Before that time, I have a ton of encounters. I can kind of launch them endlessly. So it's just the way the mechanic works. But I can sit there when I've got time and charge up my divinity again, and then I've got lots of encounter powers. I thought I'd gotten these guys to follow me, but apparently not. I do really love their leaping move. I always like monsters like Gorgons or other pole-like creatures that get a charge benefit. I like how these guys pull back and then charge at you. Pretty cool. Alright, we've rescued the prisoners, and we have succeeded at the werewolf storyline. As I said, there's a series of plot lines here. The witch one is very cool as well. There's some nice, the way they did each of these little vignettes is quite nice. And again, every time in the game, when you do one of these vignette storyline pieces, you are recovering an important item that you need to then fight against Ravenloft, against Strahd in the final battle. So you get the currency type stuff, you get Tarokka rare cards, which you can kind of open up, and when you get them, you get a random less common cards. Cool. Nice little touch there they do. So I will go back out here. Sometimes there's another chapter to investigate, or depending how it works. we'll see here. What she
Have
tells
you
me.
come to end the... It's cowards
Weekly
can I
thing.
aid?
But let's take a look around. So you've got the town of Barovia. Very nice. We're still in nighttime, you can see from this ring, but daytime's coming soon. And we're going to just head out of town and look at the different areas that are around and some of the monsters that take place. It's fairly spooky the way they do things. You can see, you know, that looks like a scarecrow there. Well, some of them will animate when they are on posts like that. Here's what we call a heroic encounter. Someone's doing this, we might as well join in. This lets you see 6 scarecrows. So here they are moving around. And there's another player here that's taking them on. Let's do that too. Take them out. They drop something called demonic essence, which I can turn into requests. All the better. You have things like creepy spiders. The scarecrows can actually be quite tough. They have a couple of controlling effects that they can launch. If you let them get going, they can all of them carpet bomb the whole area with some pretty horrible attacks. The spiders look really creepy, so there are a number of areas on this in these woods. This area here, the fields are full of scarecrows. Where we are is this whole area of witches and spiders. We'll go up to this top hill because that's very pretty, and it'll take some time to protect the merchants. Unfortunately, this all takes a while, so let's go head around. Maybe we'll get to do the last part. So you can see witches here. The witches are fun. They ride brooms. They also have, their brooms can animate and attack on their own sometimes, which is pretty fun. They have little cauldrons there. Pretty neat. Scarecrows haven't returned. But let's go take a look at the this overlook that's really cool. The windmill. So that's the bone grinder. Oh, here's the other fun thing. So you go through the fields, the scarecrows emerge. The fields are just covered in scarecrows, and they just get some sort of stun on me. But there are a lot of fun aspects to the way it's implemented, and these are just things that are great, right? Like Merrick Blackman has a cornfield, Death in the Cornfields adventure. Witch that followed me with an animated sword coming after me. Yeah, it's cornfields are freaky, right? And you saw Children of the Corn when it first came out. You know, it's really freaky when these kind of things happen. You come off being sticking on poles and attacking. Pretty cool. We might have gotten them all. Good job, us. But the bone grinder, this old mill, really very cool looking. There's another series of quests which brings you here to deal with the witches. You have hellhounds here. They will breathe fire and can be quite horrible. We'll see them more in Descent into Avernus when I cover that area. There are various ghosts and spirits that you can find, although that one's following a character. You can see here an example of like, oh look, it's just, everything's fine, right? Oh, maybe not. Sometimes these all animate, but not today. Okay. Maybe it's only if I go for this arcane kit. Yeah, okay. So it's like a trap. If I go for this, then they come at me. And completed encounter. Another card. So I think this area is really very cool looking. The bone grinder mill. It's neat looking. We'll head back a different way. There's some more fields over this way. Hello, hellhound. I'm just gonna run by you. All these fields are full of scarecrows. And they're a nice little, like, you know, witch's hut kind of over here. Like, this is, yeah, that's fine. There's nothing creepy about this place. No, it's all good. So we saw the werewolf area. That we saw that during the instance. That takes place in this corner of the map, and you can head there. You can also go see how they implement twig blights, which is kind of neat. They do a very good job of that. Well, there's also a spooky cemetery. Let's go see a spooky cemetery. The zombies all come at you. They are not cool with the living coming to this area. I guess that might be a church. Does that make this a graveyard and not a cemetery? One of my quests has me draw consecrated water out of here. Oh, apparently another one to destroy the demonic essence. Let's put more shadow demons. There are always some fiddly bits to the game, but I do love the implementation over it, and I think the quests for this are really well written and a lot of fun. More zombies. These are the gates to go up to Strahd's castle. So when you are doing the actual adventure, the actual dungeon that's at the end of this adventure, you head over there. Let's see. It's just glitches. Okay. So let's take a look. We'll run through the woods. The woods, one thing that's nice. So here you go. Here are some twig blights. They look like sort of tree-like from afar, but they are actually twig-like. They summon vines to come at you. Very cool way that they work, and they're doing sort of weird. They're protecting weird ritual sites. The forest is thick, just like the description of the adventures. Like moving around is actually quite hard. There are quests to deal with these twisted dryads, and there are some berserkers and corrupted druids and things like that that you can go after, and you can, purify the soil. And when you do that, twig blights come out to try to stop you. So there's some neat elements there. Good example of how those twig blights attack in concert. Yeah, I think this is kind of neat. Again, it's an MMO. It's got sort of like you have to kill too many things to get through the storyline, but the storyline is really good. This huge area, this circle of standing stones, has all of these berserkers and druids that guard it, and twig blights are sent at it, and it's part of what's called the big heroic encounter that shows up in the game, where you must stop this huge, sort of a giant, enormous version of a twig blight that's being grown from the center of it. And that's quite fun to do with a bunch of players. It's pretty neat. Let's see. I don't have any fireplace quests, I don't think. One of the quests, which always cracks me up, is you have to run around and put fuel on these fireplaces, but fire pits. I don't know why that would be something you really truly need to do. How long is that going to last? And can't someone just cut some wood from the forest? But it is a quest, and you do it. And we're going to go through the werewolf area very quickly to get to this. We'll go around the water zone, and we'll. Oh, the other thing is I should stop and say this is cool to go over this big log. Look at that big log. It's really fun. The water is filled with will-o-wisps. So if we were to jump down there, we would not only take fall damage, but then all these will-o-wisps come after you. We'll see that. Take a look at that. Let's run through the forest here. Get to that fireplace as well. Fireplace, campfire. Words. So this is the domain of the werewolves. Someone must have fought them. There's still a few there in the corners, lurking. When we get down to the river, you can see the will-o-wisps, which is really a neat visual. And if you get too close, they'll start drifting towards you. The deer you can take out. You can take them out as part of the process of summoning werewolves for one of the quests. So now we get to this ruined village, and this is the village of Beres, which Strahd destroyed when it opposed him. And it's neat that you get to explore this area. There are tons of undeads, and there are also spirits that don't fight you, but are just part of the kind of color of it. Sometimes you see Strahd here, but he's not here today. But we'll take out these zombies with a little bit of the lore they implemented here. So this is the original marina here. Had caught the attention of Strahd. They killed Marina to prevent Strahd from taking her. He then destroys the town and buried her body there. And the ghost tree grows from here. Incorporeal leaves never stop falling. As they hit the ground, they turn to mist, and new leaves grow. So, very cool. Super neat. Great story capture here by the Neverwinter team. Lots of graves, lots of destroyed areas. You can see, vampires in there. I'm not going to worry about the quests that I have, but there are all kinds of quests to take down different types of undead that are here. So, the post-Strahd and this happens. It's a pretty clear story. Yeah, it's pretty. And there are ghouls and wights. These can be seen in other areas of Neverwinter, so this is not like particularly super interesting, though the vampires are. So maybe we'll just go take on a vampire over here. There are the vampire spawns and vampires themselves. Vampire spawns do a good job of sort of leaping around the way that they normally would. They do a lot of stunning, not necessarily the most fun to fight because they do a lot of control on you. But I do like that leap they do. They leap up and knock you down. And then they merge and they go away in mists like you saw there. It's kind of cool. And there's a quest to sort of remove the remains that are in areas. So you go around and do that. Again, it's currently daytime, but it will. Here's some more ghouls. It is going to become nighttime soon. Maybe it just became nighttime because we did see a vampire. I'm not sure. But different creatures will show up, and more things will roam around this area when it's nighttime. I think it's about to become nighttime. There are horsemen that ride around, so we'll go find this guy and give him some trouble. This skeleton knight, very cool. He ran me over. I deserve that. When you do enough damage, the knight will come off. This thing that Neverwinter does with the mechanic. Clearly, they got a lot of skeletons too. So now they separate the horse and steed. Very cool. There's high armor, high health. Alright. So that's a pretty good look at this, what this area looks like. There's some pretty spots that you can check out, although those guys just saw me, but some nice overlooks, scenic places. I'm gonna run away from these guys and take a look at them more. Ow! Too many arrows. Another pretty spot where you can look out on this whole area. Yeah, there's one of these little orb things around here somewhere. Where is it? I forget exactly where. Somewhere here, there's a little. There it is. You can use a scrying stone to get a view of this whole area, which is kind of neat. Ghost Tree, just super awesome, right? Whatever you're running, even if it's not a Strahd-related adventure, that idea of that Ghost Tree is super cool. I'll just throw myself down through the trees. There's a nice little bridge here, and we're kind of back at the beginning. So there you have it. That's most of... Oh, actually, one more place. One more place, and that is the Vistani camp, because they have a place here. So if we go to this spot here, we find the Vistani camp. They're hanging around, singing, playing songs. We can talk to different members of them, and they'll tell us about different aspects of both the game and the Vistani. We can meet with Madame Eva. Where do I go? And do a whole system called hunts, which is kind of cool. So you go into Madame Eva's hut, with wanted posters, which actually drop from various monsters. And with those wanted posters, she will take you on a hunt. You can party up with a number of people and take on bad guys. And, oh, it looks like the heroic encounter's up, so we'll run and do that. But I think this implementation is really smooth. Really nice look of the caravans and the people here. There are a few quests that take you to here relating to them. The hunt system is not something people do much because the gear that comes from it is not powerful by today's standards, but it was pretty cool back in its day, and the system of the idea of doing these hunts, I'm going the wrong way, the idea of doing these hunts was really very cool, to go and catch these sort of mythological crazy creatures, and they all have names and neat powers that they do. It's a really neat system. So here's that big heroic counter I was talking about. Looks like it's already started, so I don't know if this group's doing particularly well, but there are druids that are empowering it. This is phase 2 of the thing. And when they're empowering it, they are making thorn spur, which is that big giant thing I talked about. They make thorn spur strong, so he's unfortunately now kind of quite strong. It's not great. Maybe I'll slot in healing power and try to do that. Healing, shield myself. Also low on divine energy, but you know, how about temporary hit points for everybody? Like that. Left. The paladin and a couple of other, the fighter also have a shield blocking mechanic that you can do. It's kind of fun, so you hold your tab button down and you're shielding any damage. You can tank up, draw the attention of creatures, and then they don't do any damage to you. It's very critical in the harder content. And there we go, we've defeated Thornspur and get various things for having stopped that. Cool. Yeah, so I think that's going to be it. We'll run back to town so nothing kills us while I'm chatting with you. But that gives you a feel for how Neverwinter implemented the lore of Barovia. It's a really neat zone, right? Super visual, Strahd's castle. When you complete the campaign, you can then go fight Strahd. And that is a very hard series of fights that you do, as you fight 3 witch sisters and take on Strahd himself. It is a big deal, very difficult part of the campaign. So we will stop here for now with our lore of Barovia and Ravenloft. Nice implementation and one of the really nicely done areas overall. Next time, we'll see what we cover. I might cover the Avernus content because it is more recent and perhaps more interesting to people, though I have been itching to talk about how they do the the Tiamat content, Well of Dragons area. That's really kind of neatly done too. So we'll see. But it's nice for everybody to come by. I hope you enjoy the videos, as always. Let me know if you have specific areas you want to cover, if you have questions about the lore itself, and check me out on my blog, alphastream.org. Thanks so much.